And that was Glenn Fry with Soul Searching. You're listening to Your Show with Robert Hodge on FM 93.5, The Berg, and WMBG AM 740. We are Williamsburg's radio station, and as you know, our music is very eclectic. We play a lot of different things. We are officially labeled as Adult Contemporary Light, and it involves a lot of power hits, things that come from the 70s and 80s, right on up to today's music. But one of the people that has arisen in the last half a century of music and has received some pretty legendary status and accolades through his career is Bob Dylan. And the music of Bob Dylan is still played live on the road occasionally by Bob Dylan, but there is a new band, relatively new, about a year and a half old, that is really garnering a lot of attention. And they are coming to Richmond, to Tin Pan, which, as you know, is one of my favorite venues. And I love to talk about that place because it is just magnificent. It's a place to go and see an intimate performance by artists that you really don't often get to see in that kind of venue. And they are called the Bob Band. They are a tribute band for Bob Dylan, which there are not that many, gentlemen, are there?
There are not that many.
So you really are cornering the market. And I have to say, right up front, that I've never been the biggest fan of Bob Dylan as a performer. I love his songwriting. I think he's a marvelous producer in some instances. But you know what? He just has never been somebody that I would sit down and listen to for a long period of time. However, I heard about the Bob Band. I went and I watched some videos and I listened to some tracks, and I decided that I like you even better than I like Bob Dylan. So that's why you're here. So let's talk about the band. Let's talk about how it all came together, and the fact that my listeners will have a chance to hear you live on Friday night at Tin Pan in Richmond.
Good. Well, it all started with Dennis Bailey, who is Bob Dylan in our band, and he had a Bob Dylan band when he lived up in Maine.
Uh-huh.
When he moved down here, he decided to put it together again.
Nice.
So when I came in, Peter, the keyboard player sitting next to me, was with him, and I came along, and through some various personnel changes, we finally got the 5 people together that we have now. And we started playing these Bob Dylan songs, and we play them to the spirit of which they were recorded way back when. We don't really change anything.
I like that.
Our guitars might be more in tune. The piano might be more in tune.
One would hope.
But we were true to the original recordings.
All right. So actually, you mentioned Dennis, and Dennis is portraying Bob Dylan. I love how you said he is Bob Dylan. So it makes me think he is a method actor, right?
Well, no, it doesn't.
He's going into it really being Bob Dylan. But you also have Phil Bedell, who is not with you, as well as Steve Chambers, and they are not present today. But I was remiss because I didn't actually introduce you properly. Paul Goldstein and Peter Kahn is here, and you're the keyboard and the drummer.
Yes,
right, for
that's
this
right.
band.
Yes.
Okay, and of course, as a keyboardist myself, and as any musician would tell you, the keyboard and the drums are the very basis of a band, are they not?
Well, that's funny. Some people say drummers aren't musicians.
I have heard that as well, but I don't believe it, because you know what? You really can't do anything with without a drummer. And I notice, from an on-stage point of view, nobody's really moving until the drummer kicks in. So
there you go.
The audience starts to groove when the drummer comes to life. So this is an interesting challenge that you have, because when people come, are they expecting a clone of Bob Dylan when you say tribute, or are they giving you a little freedom to interpret?
That's a great question. I don't know what the motive is for people to come, but the people are coming to see the band and seem to really come away with a positive reaction.
But is it? Let me clarify. Is it an equal mix of the comments that you get, like, "Oh my gosh, you really create the spirit of Bob Dylan," and "Oh my gosh, you're such talented musicians yourself"? Do they see one or the other, or do they see both? Do they see the big picture of what your talent is?
I think what they see, since most people aren't musicians, they just see that it's
good.
Sounds good.
Okay.
And they don't necessarily know what went into us doing it, but if it sounds good to them, and it's what they remember or close to it,
nice.
It gets to them. And Dennis's voice is very similar to Bob Dylan's. He doesn't do it exactly, but it's very similar, his natural voice. So that helps a lot. So sometimes you'll see a tribute band where the singer is putting on a voice.
Right.
And you can tell.
Right.
And this is much more natural.
Well, and you know what? Now I understand why you kind of like gave me a look askance when I said something about a method actor, because really he's not acting with the voice, but a little bit of the persona mannerisms maybe?
No, I mean...
Because he seemed very familiar to me in the videos. I thought he really was very much like Bob Dylan.
He knows these songs. Now imagine if you're a singer-songwriter and you go out there and you want to play some Bob Dylan songs. Okay. And if you can manage to remember the lyrics to 2 or 3 songs,
right.
Okay, you've got it. But Dennis knows the lyrics to hundreds of songs.
Right.
How?
Right.
I don't know. So if you're not reading them
and
you're singing it natural, it looks natural, and people know.
Right. You know, I have on good authority that Ella Fitzgerald had more than 800 songs in her head that she could put in instant rotation, and that she would literally keep track of every song she sang at every concert in every venue. And when she would come back to Hampton, she would never do the same songs. And her band was always flummoxed because she was like, okay, we're going to do this, this, and this, and at the last minute to be a new set list that had nothing to do with anything else other than she hadn't sung it last time she was here. So that's got to be wild. Sounds like he's got that kind of repertoire.
It's an incredible thing, because I couldn't do it. I just couldn't remember. Some Bob Dylan songs are 15 to 20 minutes long, and the verses don't repeat. There's no chorus, so you can't come back. Oh, I got this. You have to know them all.
Wow.
And many of the songs, the lyrics are telling a story. So if you leave something out, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So he amazes me that he has all this in his head.
Right. Now, I've heard in many reviews and in many fan comments, as well as in our conversation before we went on the air, that a lot of what Bob Dylan does when he goes out on the road and he chooses to perform now is not really so much concerned with preserving the arrangements and the legacy of his early recordings, whereas you guys are being consistent. And my thought on that, and tell me if this is unfair, I'm impressed by the musical integrity not only that you put into your performances, but also the protection that it gives the early legacy of the artist, because it seems like that's not really his focus and his concern now. He's moving on and perhaps entertaining himself in a way, but you guys are really looking after the integrity of that legacy. I think that's brilliant.
I don't think that people would want to see a Bob Dylan tribute band that didn't do them,
well, sure,
like the original, that Bob Dylan do however he wants. He's Bob Dylan. He's earned the right to do whatever he wants to do with his songs.
Right.
So, but people want to hear that. They want to hear the original songs, and they come and they say, well, this is great. we don't know. This is like, I remember. This is sitting in my room as a teenager listening to these records.
Now, prior to this project coming around, were you all working in different kinds of bands and different styles of music? What were you doing?
Well, I play in several bands.
Still?
Still.
Okay.
But I have played my whole life, and I've played every style, every kind of band, as has Peter.
Same with me. I've done lots of different types of rock and roll and some jazz and many other styles. So.
Wow. Okay.
What I love about the Bob Dylan songbook is that there is so much, as a keyboard player, so many of his songs feature piano and organ both.
Sure.
And so it's all through a lot of his music. So, and that's maybe a little unusual. There's, to have such a rich keyboard thing going.
It is. You're right. And especially in today's music, as it gets, harder and harder to travel with more people. It's interesting to see when the keyboard really does get a shot at it. It can make such a difference. And of course, I'm biased and partial myself, but
makes it fun, though.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah. No kidding. So I'm interested in the show. It's going to be Friday at Tin Pan. It's going to be at 8 o'clock. Now, if you've never been to Tin Pan, you can go and have dinner, and they have marvelous food. They have great sound, and it is a very comfortable venue. The stage is intimate. You'll get a good look at these guys, and you'll get to hear the sound with a great richness. And I assume you guys seem like the friendly types. I assume you're very approachable after the show. They'll get a chance to meet you and say, I heard you on that WMBG radio.
Well, we will have a meet and greet after the show. And
nice.
you can meet us. You can buy some T-shirts.
Yeah, cool.
As a matter of fact, I just got a call. Those T-shirts are ready. So I'll get them when I get back home.
Do you have any inkling that Bob Dylan knows about this band? What's up? Does he have any idea that you're out there?
We've never been approached by anybody in his team or him saying, we know about you. but we do understand that his attorney pretty much knows everything that's going on around. So I don't know for sure.
I would say this, the momentum that you're gathering and the response that you're gathering from your fans and from your reviewers, it's got to be a matter of time before he really understands that you're out there doing him a great favor and a great honor, because you're devoting your musical talents and your time to really pushing his name and his legacy musically out there. And that's a brilliant thing for any artist. There is no greater compliment. And so, to have a tribute band is one thing. To have a tribute band that takes you seriously and really is concerned with making it as good as it can be, I think, how could you be any luckier?
Well, I hope that he feels honored that we do this.
Yeah, listen to me, Bob Dylan. I know what I'm talking about. All right, so you know what, gentlemen? I wish you great luck. I wish you success with this concert, and I'm thrilled that you have the opportunity to bring your act. You're based in Maryland. You perform throughout the D.C. area. You're traveling and working regionally and wanting to take this on a bigger level, so I encourage you, and that's one reason I was more than happy to have you here on the show today. I hope that Richmond is a great excitement for you.
I do want to remind people that if you go to tinpanrva.com,
absolutely,
you can buy tickets there.
I wasn't signed off yet. I was going to give you a chance to sell them tickets. Don't worry.
Okay.
Don't worry. We were going to go there, and please do that. If you are into Bob Dylan music, if you are interested in these gentlemen, and if you've been impressed by the interview and the comments that they've had to say, then I hope you will consider, if you are not otherwise engaged on your Friday night, I hope you will consider spending it with the Bob Band. And they can be found online at thebobband.com. And on Facebook, what is your moniker?
Facebook, we are the Bob Band DC.
Okay.
Because there are more than one Bob Band out there, yes.
How dare they?
I know, really.
Well, anyway, it'll all sort itself out when you guys emerge as the Phoenix. So I think this is marvelous, and I think it's a wonderful thing that you're doing, and I wish you the best of success.
Well, thank you very much.
Awesome.
Thanks for having us.
Well, hey, you are listening to Your Show with Robert Hodge on FM 93.5 The Berg and WMBG AM 740. We